Guiding light to so many, including myself, on our individual and collective journeys of recovery, it gives me great pleasure to present this year's Lifetime Achievement Award to Miss Mary Ellen Copeland.
When I heard that I was receiving this award, I began to think back over my life, to think about when this all started. When did I get involved in mental health? When did mental health become a key issue in my life? And it was a long, long time ago. It was when I was 8 years old. It started one day in August when I went off to the county fair with my 3 brothers and sister, and came home to learn that our mother had been taken away to the state hospital. She spent the next 8 years of her life there, and every Saturday I went there with my siblings to visit her. And I kept thinking, there's some way that we can fix this. There's some way that we can fix my mother. I kept trying to figure it out, and I never did. But my mother figured it out for herself. Much to the surprise of all the people at the hospital, she started getting better and better and better. And then she started gathering the patients together in groups and getting them to talk to each other. And they discharged her. I don't think they were too comfortable with that. So when I started having some mental health issues of my own later on in my life, I was told that, you know, you'll never get any better, and you'll probably get worse over time. That was the message I got. And yet I knew that that wasn't true. I knew that my mother had gotten well. And I determined that I would talk to her, and that I would talk to lots and lots of other people, and figure a way out of the deep hole that I was in myself. So I went to my 2 vocational rehabilitation counselors, Karen Logata and Barbara Robinson, and I said, I have a plan. And my plan is that I'm going to study how people cope with psychiatric symptoms, all kinds of psychiatric symptoms, anxiety, depression, mania, you name it. How do people cope? How do they get by on a day-to-day basis? And one would have expected, given what had been going on in my life lately, that they wouldn't have been too excited about that. But instead, they said to me, we think this is a great idea. How can we help? And that began for me what has become my life mission, which is to talk and talk and talk to people and find out what helps them. Not so much talking, but listening and listening and listening. And find out what works for them. What works, what helps them to feel better. And as I learned from people, talking and talking and listening, I got better and better myself. I started writing books. I started giving trainings. I started giving workshops. My life just sort of blossomed and became this really, really big thing. And states started hiring me to come on and do these trainings. And the state of Vermont asked me to do these series, 8-day trainings where you work with 30 people, get 30 people in, and you can work with them for 8 days. And I thought this was so great. So I had this group, and it was northern Vermont, and it was winter, and it was 1997. And people that came from all over, and the weather was just really cold and snowy, and I couldn't imagine why they would come out. But they did, and we talked about diet and exercise and light and self-esteem and trauma, talked about all kinds of things. And I thought I was doing a great job. And at the end of that time together, a woman, Jessie Parker, stood up in the back and she said, you know, this is all well and good, and I've learned quite a bit here. But I've been in state hospitals all across the country, and I don't have any idea how to organize this into my life. And I took that on as a challenge, as did the other people in the room. And we spent several days after that, several days that our own time, working and working to come up with what has become now well known across the country and around the world as the Wellness Recovery Action Plan. A simple process where people think about what helps them, what helps you to feel better, and then uses that, figures out what they need to do every day, what they need to do if they get upset by something, what they need to do if they start feeling badly, what they need to do to help themselves if they feel a lot worse, what their supporters need to do to help them if they feel really, really terrible, and if they can't do anything for themselves. And I was this little plan, I was this little group of people, and I was really profoundly affected by it, and I went home and developed one for myself. And it just made all the difference for me all of a sudden. And that's when I took it to a conference, and people were thrilled with it. And so for these last years, I've been spreading the word. Now we have people, training people, right now people in New Zealand, in Japan, all over the world. And one of the most exciting things for me is one of my goals when I began all this work was that someday I wanted to go back to that hospital where my mother was for 8 years, where I really didn't think they did anything at all to help her. I never saw them do anything. And about 5 years ago, they asked me to come there and speak. And since that time, I've been working rather closely with them. And they have changed the whole focus of that hospital, and now it has a recovery focus. And every time I go there to speak, I am reminded of the time that we went to that hospital, my brothers and my sister and I, and they told us that my mother was incurably insane. And she remembers that the next time we went there, we brought my mother a big bouquet of gladiolus. My mother always remembered that. And so every time I went back to Connecticut Valley Hospital, they gave me a big bouquet of gladiolus. I got the